Hey guys, so we're going to jump on. Lovely to see everyone. Lovely to see. It's amazing working with, you know, it's not a part of the world that I've been to that often to come to Central America and to South America. So really nice to be, right, let's just to be working with you guys. I'm just going to open up my presentation. So I'm going to be doing exactly the same as I've been doing in the past. I'm going to screen share. And I've got a little presentation for you today, but I'm going to try to make today really practical, and I'm going to take a bit of a risk with 100 and something people in the room and actually try and do a very big class. So I'm going to just try out a couple of ideas and make this kind of practical-ish. I'm even thinking that I might put you into breakout rooms right at the end. Perhaps at the end when Donna's finished, we'll come back and do that, because just in case it goes wrong with 150 people, it might not work, but we'll give it a try. So I'm just going to come into the presentation and let me just jump back a bit. So I've got the right page. Okay, so we're up today really to this Wednesday where I'm going to be talking about a little bit about creativity, and Donna's going to be talking about project work. So we're kind of opening up your mind to the possibilities once you get through that first difficult stage of kind of understanding how Zoom works. And there's going to be, you know, you're going to make mistakes at the beginning. I've made plenty, but that is part in sometimes when you're working with these technologies of being prepared to make mistakes. I think Donna was making a really good point earlier that we're all control freaks when we're teachers, and we want everything to be right. And I think in a way, the world that we're living in the chat, what I'm going to do today is just talk to you about how you can make a lesson a little bit more student-centered. And then I'm going to give you some examples of that. I'm hoping maybe Jimena might come in as well and talk again very quickly about the platform, because I think this links together really closely with what I'm talking about today. So I'm really looking at how we can make the lessons more student-centered. As Donna says, I get a lot of emails, a lot of people contacting me, and that's the big question that everyone's asking at the moment. So those teachers that are starting to get a little bit more confident now, they're saying, yeah, okay, I think I know how to use Zoom, but my lesson is always me talking. I can't get to a place where I'm taking the pressure off me, okay? Now, it's not an easy thing to do sometimes, okay? And it actually takes a bit, you need a bigger view. But I'm going to talk about the 4 possibilities, the 4 stages, the way to think about it. And then I'm going to try a few ideas with you. I really hope they work. And we'll see if at least you get a feeling of a couple of things that you might be able to do. So the 4 levels really are that you are delivering a lesson. You're maybe showing a PowerPoint, or you're showing a website, or you're showing some sort of technology, and you know, perhaps a website, perhaps a PowerPoint, perhaps a picture, perhaps a video, and you get the students to interact with that content. So it's very teacher controlled. It's almost like the teacher coming out, the students coming up to the blackboard, or you know, pointing something out on an interactive whiteboard. So it's very much just the teacher and the students reacting to that content. Now, one thing about that is that as you get confident, one thing is that you can actually have things on the screen that you allow 3 or 4 students to be interacting with at the same time. It is possible in Zoom if you give students control of the writing tools, of the annotation tools. You're not limited to 1 student. You can actually have 2 or 3 students writing on the screen at the same time. So you could be given instructions to the student, okay? And then the students are doing some writing activities. So if you've got 10 or 12 or 15 students in the class, it could be possible to have 2 or 3 of those students working at the same time with you leading the class. Much more interesting is if you take a back step and you probably going to get the students to screen share something. They can be working with your technology. It doesn't matter, because you can have something on the screen and they can be giving the instructions to other students. So now it's the student as teacher. So now we're slightly moving a bit further away, because you're not talking necessarily. You might ask one other student to give the instructions, maybe write this word, or draw on this, or underline this, or circle this, or draw a triangle, and some of the other students can be doing it. So suddenly we've moved away from the teacher completely leading the front of the class to the students leading it. And that's kind of stage 2. Now, stage 2 is really important because if you want your students to go into breakout rooms, they can only do that if they've learned stage 2, if they've learned how to screen share something themselves and then do an activity with the rest of the class. Then they're ready to go into the breakout rooms and do the same thing with a smaller group. If you don't show them stage 2, they can't do stage 3. So it's really important to understand that you will need, and I'll talk about that in a minute, a few basic skills that you want your students to have, okay? Stage 4 is where you start linking to other technologies. So you're doing a lesson, but you're not always in Zoom. You might push them off onto the platform, onto the Richmond platform, tell the students to go off and do an exercise or do an activity. Okay, then they come back and then you open up the platform in screen share and you look and see, okay, everyone's done it, right? Everyone's passed, or look, there's a few problems here. Let's look at that. So that platform is really powerful because that really takes the pressure off you. You tell the students, okay, go to the platform, listen to the video, listen to the listening, read the text. Okay, they can do it with their books. Exercise. The students go and do that exercise, they come back. Other times you might use other platforms, other technologies, and that's what I'm going to show you a little bit today, some of the possibilities, okay? Just going to show you a few ideas. So there's these 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of stages, okay, or 4 techniques or 4 overviews, okay? Teachers interacting, students interacting, sorry, teacher, students interacting, student as the teacher, moving them into the breakout rooms, or then looking at other technologies that you can incorporate into the lesson, okay? Or start mixing some of these ideas together. So that's really where I'm at today and what I want to show you. Now, one thing that you need to understand, and this is really interesting, and I was having a big discussion this morning about this. Some people disagree on this, but we always get this thing that, oh, the students are so good with technology. And actually what I've been getting back as feedback is one of the frustrating things is that students are struggling. They don't know how to screen share. You would think it's really intuitive, but they don't get it right. And so this idea that students are always millennials and always pick this stuff up, I always wonder about whether that's true. I think they're good at certain things. They're good at using Instagram. But they're not necessarily outside of their comfort zone. So they get very frightened, just like we do when we use these technologies. That's my feeling. So when a student starts to work with Zoom, they do need to learn to use the pen. They do need to learn to be able to type on the screen. They do need to be able to mark things. One of the frustrating things with this is that if a student's accessing the lesson on their mobile phone, which some students will be, it's much harder to do these things. Students need to screen share. They need to screen share, so it's not always the teacher that's opening up something, but maybe we get the students to open up a PowerPoint presentation and then they do a little presentation. So one of the students opens the PowerPoint and then 2 or 3 students maybe are talking about the PowerPoint. Maybe they're describing a picture. Maybe they're going through a short story. Maybe they're showing some pictures of what they did at the weekend, or pictures of their family or their favorite football team or something. So these types of activities, if it's not always the teacher, but we're going to get the students to do it, they need to know how to screen share. Remember, in Zoom, you can set it all how they can screen share. Brilliant. Now, one of the students can open something and share it with the class. So that is a skill that is really, really important. And then the third skill that can be really important is the ability to turn on and off their audio, because you might not want all of the students with their cameras on all the time. I told you that that can make a problem. But sometimes if one of the students is being the teacher, you want them to turn the camera on so that they are the attention, they are the focus. Or you want them to turn the camera on when they go into their breakout rooms. So you might have, as Donna was saying yesterday, one leader in each group. Well, that person should turn their camera on. So these skills the students need to know: how to write on the screen using annotation, and how to mark, and etc. How to screen share, and how to turn on and off their camera and audio. Those basic skills, the students need to know them. Now, talking to many teachers, lots of teachers have told me, Russell, they get there. They pick it up in the end, but it is at the beginning, they get nervous. They don't often have never experienced a lesson online before like this. They'll come on, they'll make lots of noise, they'll be drawing all over the screen, and you kind of have to let them do this so that they kind of get there, get ready, and then you say, right, let's settle down. So I used to say, tell the teachers, don't let the students write on the screen, don't turn on the camera. But actually, from my experience of talking to many, many schools, they're saying, no, no, no. At the beginning, you've got to let them. So you might need to keep that in mind. But these skills the students need. Without these skills, it's very hard for you to really run an interesting lesson. So the interaction of sort of student content, so teacher content, you've put something on the screen. They can draw in it. They can write on it, okay? So it can either be the teacher giving the instructions to the students do it, or the students start to give the instructions. So the teachers open some content, but one of the students is describing that content and the other students are interacting with it. So immediately the teacher is slightly out of the picture, okay? And one of the things is as well is to think about responses that are visual, right? Show me 5 fingers, show me 10 fingers, you know. Get some things on the screen like hold up the pen, hold up the notebook, blah, blah, blah. You can do exercises that really make use of the visual elements, especially if you've only got 10 or 15, 20 students in the class. But of course, at that moment, you have to get them to turn the webcam on, okay? Control is going to be a big factor here. But people are saying that, you know, obviously the internet's going to be a big factor. How good the technology is. Are students going to be able to enjoy that experience or not? If students have got a fast connection, then yes, it's going to work, okay? But you're going to have to think about that. But that's certainly, so that's responding. The next part is the students doing it. And this is where the students need to have an understanding of sharing the screen, because they need to share the screen and open something onto the screen. And then they can talk about it and other students can interact with it. So now the teacher is completely out. The teacher's not even sharing their screen. The students are showing something. It could be a PowerPoint, it could be some pictures, it could be something interesting from the internet, it could be a website they like. I'm going to show you a couple of ideas in a minute around that. So making the students kind of take over, but it's still a class activity. Now, when the students have learned to do that, when they know how to play a video, they know how to show a picture, they know how to show a PowerPoint slide, they know how to go to an internet site, then the same thing can be done in breakout rooms. You can't do stage 3 if you haven't taught the students stage 2. They need to be able to do that skill. So at the beginning, you've got to teach it as a group activity. Get the students confident, and then you can push them into actually doing it in a breakout room. Now, breakout rooms open up a big world to you. They really do open up a lot of opportunities, because in a breakout room, suddenly you've got the students in groups and they can open something onto the screen. I was talking to a teacher this morning and she said to me, you know, she was saying, Russell, I was struggling with my students because when they go in the breakout rooms, they're not actually speaking in English. She said, but then I realized that I could tell them that I can record the breakout rooms. She says, I don't actually do it, but I realize I can do it. And I think when you put students into breakout rooms, it has to be something pretty structured. Donna's been talking a lot about this, scaffolding an activity. I think it's really, really important when we put them into breakout rooms that you've got a very specific activity that you want them to do. They know exactly what they're going to do. So stage 3 and stage 2 and stage 3 connected together are really, really important. Donna, have we got any questions coming up, or am I okay at the moment? Donna? I'm not hearing you. Sorry.
We're here, Steve.
Any questions coming on the screen, or?
Are you going to be going? I have someone who's saying he tried yesterday to go in a breakout room and it didn't work. So I'm wondering if you're going to be showing them one more time, or if he should just watch one of your videos.
may come after you for a couple of minutes right at the end and put people into breakout rooms just to see what it's like, okay? I just thought it might be interesting, but obviously with so many people, it might not work. Please watch my videos, okay? Okay, please watch my videos. It really does go through the 3 stages of doing a breakout room. I've had some incredible emails from people who have done breakout rooms with really big classes. Someone telling me that they did it with 55 students in a class. You know, so no questions at the moment, no?
Well, there's one more, but you pretty much answered it yesterday, but you might just want us one more time. They have questions about the waiting room. And from what I understand, before you open the room, they just automatically go into the waiting room. Isn't that correct?
Remember what I said yesterday. If you've got a class at 5 o'clock and a class at 6 o'clock, while you have the class at 5 o'clock open, you can't have the class at 6 o'clock open. You can only have one active class. So the students in the 6 o'clock, they will go into a waiting room. When you finish your 5 o'clock class, when you turn it off, the students, and then open the 6 o'clock class, the students will come in.
So she says, what will the guests see or what will the students see? They'll just say...
I don't know, actually.
Okay.
I don't know,
Okay.
because I've never been in a waiting room. No one's ever put me in one. But I'm presuming they just basically know they're in the waiting room.
Okay.
You may have to see if you can prepare something. On another system that I use, you can leave a message. I have never used the waiting rooms in Zoom, so I honestly don't know.
Okay, I think what they're going to see is that they'll say a sign saying the host still hasn't connected, just wait, something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a message on the screen, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
right.
Sorry, one more question, Russell.
Yeah,
you've never been in the waiting room. Stephanie, he hasn't been in the waiting room yet, but we'll find out if students in the waiting room can interact. But I believe you can through the chat.
Right, okay. I think I think I said this and make myself very clear. I've used these systems for many years, okay? And there's Zoom, I've only started to use really a lot in the last 3 or 4 weeks. I'd used it before sometimes. So I would consider myself to be very good at using these systems generally. I know ClickMeeting, I know Wimba, I know Adobe Connect, I know GoToMeeting, I know Zoom. And I work with Adobe Connect for more than 10 years. But Zoom specifically, I've only started working with in the last 4 or 5 weeks. So there are still little things that I haven't even tried out myself. And so the waiting room, yes, in other systems, when you go in the waiting room, you can have a sign, you can be chatting. I honestly don't know what happens when you use Zoom. I honestly don't know. You'll have to find that out. Perhaps go onto YouTube. What is the waiting room in Zoom? Find out. So when we go into the breakout rooms, we have got obviously lots of options, but remember now it's your students. So they could be drawing on the screen, they could be opening up the screen, they can be writing on the screen. They've got lots of different options of things that they can do when they're in the breakout room, the students. So there's lots of different things that they can do there. Okay, but remember, you need to take them through stage 2. You need to get them familiar with the sharing the screen before they can use the breakout rooms. We then come to the part that, and I'm going to try a couple of exercises in a minute with you just to see if we can sort of demonstrate a few ideas, the sorts of things that you could use to take the pressure off yourself. So we're going to try and do a couple of practical ideas. A couple of technologies that I would really suggest you learn. Number one, the platform. Learn the Richmond platform. If you get your head around that platform, that could be a place to send your students to do exercises. Give them a time limit. Say 5 minutes, I want you back. Okay, so give them so they go off, they do an exercise, you come back. You can then open the platform on the screen share and you can look at the results and you can see who's done it. You can have a discussion related to that. So that immediately takes the pressure off you because the students are going off onto the platform. There are a couple of really nice technologies if you want to do a brainstorming, speaking activity. Now, I want to be really careful here. We've already got a lot of struggle to learn to use Zoom and probably to learn to use the Richmond platform if we don't know it. That's already a lot. So be careful with the other technologies that you introduce. But I'm going to show you a couple that you might be interested in, okay? And I'll be interested to see your comments. So I'm going to come out of screen share just for a minute. And hang on a minute. So let me just stop sharing. So I'm just going to come out of screen share for a minute, and I'm just going to show you a couple of things, and we'll just see what happens. All right. Now I'm going to promise you that these technologies that I'm going to show you, I can control them. The first one I've set, I've not really controlled it at all. I'm going to show you the technology now. I'm going to quickly screen share it for you and show you what I want you to do, and just talk a little bit about it. So let me just come into here, this one here. I'm going to screen share. This is a technology called Padlet. And Padlet is a technology that allows me to set up a kind of electronic board, and I can give you a question, a really simple question, and I can get you to click on the Padlet and put your answer in. Now, I can get you to share video and share pictures. I'm just going to keep it really simple. I can moderate this. I'm not going to moderate it because I'm working with a group of teachers, and I hope that you're not going to write anything inappropriate. If I was working with young students, I can do this, all right? I can actually moderate it so I can check the responses first from the students. But I can create a Padlet, and then you can click on the screen. I've written a question. The question says, write your name and write one person you admire in history. So I'm going to write Russell, and I'm going to write, since Donna is American, I'm going to write in Benjamin Franklin, someone I really like. And I remember reading his biography and being amazed by what an incredible man he was. So I've just put my answer onto the screen, and it immediately appears on the screen. Now we can use these kind of things. I could have shared pictures. I could do all sorts of things. If I can literally create a wall with just writing a question, share the wall with the students, and the students can write their answers in, and then immediately I can open it up on the screen and look at it, okay? So all I've done here is just create a really simple wall, and I'm going to click on the link here and pass this to you, and I'm going to ask you to actually come in to the screen. So let me just stop sharing. I'm going to click on this link. This is a Padlet. This tool is called Padlet. I will give you some help videos for Padlet. Just click on the link, go on, click on the screen, write your name and put an answer for me. I'm just going to send it to you now. I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes to do that activity, then we'll come back.
Okay, so Russell, just while they're doing that, I wanted to just let you know that someone who's been using Zoom, Jahid, said that once they're in the waiting room, they cannot communicate. They just get a message saying the class will begin in such a time.
Right, some of you are just writing your names in. I wanted you to write your name at the top and then put your answer in underneath. The name at the top, I can see Felipe, Eduardo, blah, blah, blah. Don't forget, put the name. Someone's just, okay, you're just writing the names directly. I wanted you to write your name at the top and then underneath the answer. So at the moment, this is a disastrous exercise. Okay, I can see what you're all writing. So you're probably all I wanted was your name at the top, and then a person in history. Great, I've got someone who's written Madre Teresa. Well done, good. Now I've got more people. I've got someone doing it. You're getting better. Good, good, good. A lot of you have just written your name and you didn't put an answer in. You can go in again, delete your name and do it correctly if you want. You can delete your own work.
Yeah, Eduardo, not just hello. So give us a person.
Yeah, I've got Monica. A lot of you. You can go in and edit. Michelle has not done it properly. Maria's not done it well. Marcela's not done it properly. I've got someone who's written love it and not written anything. I've got Yelenia. She's the same thing. Annie. You've got an obsession with writing your names and not putting an answer in. My mother, Felipe Cardoso. Good answer.
They have an alternative understanding of the exercise, Russell.
Yeah, I know. I gather that. Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, your mother, I think that's definitely someone. But you're saying that your mother's in history, though. But that's okay. Yeah. So I was thinking really of someone, a historic figure. But I mean, definitely your mother could be a historic. My mother definitely is a historic figure for me. So I think that's a good answer. Okay, so look, let's just go back to screen sharing. All right. You may have finished. You may not. Just going to come back. Sorry. So I don't know why I'm visiting. I've got Jose Rodriguez. I've got to think the same problem here that all the hosts can share the screen. I've just turned that off. You will stop other people. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. Right. Right, lovely. Okay, so let me share the screen and let's see what's happened. So this is the type of thing I'm saying. I kept that really simple. I could have asked you to share a video. I could have asked you to write something longer. I could have done it as a brainstorming activity. I could have asked you to upload a video, anything I wanted to. I could have controlled what you wrote on the screen as well. In other words, I do have the possibility to click on moderate. If I click on moderate, I can quickly look, see if I'm happy and just say yes, 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 and then it will appear on the screen. If you're working with young learners and you're worried that they're going to write something inappropriate, I could have controlled it. Okay, some of you are making me laugh there, yeah? You've written some lovely answers. I'm just trying to show you that you can set up these brainstorming type activities with the technology that the students go off and then you come back into the lesson, open up the screen, and now you could work with this. Okay, so we could do an activity possibly around this. It might be, for example, is there anyone that more than one person likes? I could get you to do a quick activity to search and skim and look for answers and see if there's anyone that people voted for twice. So who's the most popular historical figure, for example? Okay, now we've done that obviously today. But how many of us are in the class at the moment? There's 200 of you in the lesson, but that seemed to work. If you did that in a class with a small group of students, that can be really, really effective. That technology is called Padlet. It's free. It's a technology that does loads of things. I'm going to quickly show it to you just to talk about it a little bit. I will give you some videos to help you to learn Padlet, okay? But if we just screen share and go back, and what I'll do is I'll create a new one. So I'm just going to come back here. Let me just quickly open up a website. If I quickly go to Padlet, I'm just going to very quickly show you. All right, I'm on the dashboard. I just click on make a Padlet. Once you've got an account, make a Padlet. Okay, I click on making a Padlet, and then hang on a minute. Sorry, I've not logged in. I need to log in to my account. That's it. Hang on a minute. Right, so why did that come up a minute? Let me just click on, why did that come up like that? It shouldn't have come up like that. Okay. Maybe I've hit my limit, so I'm gonna have to delete one of my Padlets because I've only got a free account. Let me just delete a couple of Padlets and I should be all right. Just gonna delete a few. Okay, should do that. Yeah, lovely. Okay, so I've only got a free account here. It should be okay. Now let me just check that. Click on it now. Should allow. Yeah, lovely. Okay, I think you're limited to 8 or something like that for free. Look at all the different possibilities. I can use this to do a map, so I can put a map, and then I can get students to click on the map. All right, so that's one possibility. I can do a timeline, so students can make timelines where they can put a date and a picture, date and a picture, date and a picture, etc. So they can do that as well. I can do it the way I did it now, which was what we call a wall. So you were putting it up and it was like bricks, they come onto the screen. I can use this for back channel, for ideas, and one idea will come down underneath the other. So all you need to do is choose which type of Padlet you want to make. You click on select, okay? Let me see if I can move this out of the way. You simply give it a name, all right? So I'm going to call this my second Padlet. You have some great settings if you come down. One of them that's really useful is if you come down here, you've got one here. Let me just get right. Yeah, a require approval. That way, when the students write on the screen, it will not appear until you have approve, 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 approve. When you open up, you'll see all over the screen. You just click approve, 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 approve. It's finished. Okay, but nothing will go on the screen until you approve it. But if you don't put that on, fine. Just click on next, and you are ready. You just share the link, and the students can come into the Padlet and answer your question. So this
Sorry,
is
Russell.
Yeah, go on.
They're asking, did they have to do the click on share screen or only you?
No, only me.
Okay.
At the moment, no, they can't. Hopefully, they can't share screen. I've turned it off. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. They don't need to share screen. They're just watching me doing it. Yeah. So
one other thing. Sorry, Russell. Could you ask everyone to turn their cameras off because your audio is going in and out?
Right, brilliant. Can everyone turn off your camera? Really important. We did talk about this yesterday, especially because you've got nearly 200 and something people in the room. It's not going to work, guys. I'm really sorry. It really makes a massive difference, and keep that in mind when you're working in Zoom with your, or in any of the systems, okay? The two things that take up all of the space are the audio and the camera.
Great, thanks.
Okay, guys, brilliant. Thank you. So please, everyone, turn off your camera, and I'll make sure you're all muted as well, because we don't want any audio on either at the moment while this is going on. So
Hey, Russell, sorry, one more question. Do the students need to download any app, or once you send them the link, it opens automatically?
Yeah, no, I would never show you anything like that. Everything is going to be, the students just click on it, bang, start straight away. No account for them, nothing. Okay? This is a wonderful tool, and it's been used very widely in education. Okay, not just in teaching English, all right? Anyway, so everyone try and turn off your webcams. So that was one example of the type of activity that I'm talking about, an activity that can push you off to the side and get the students to do an activity. I'm going to show you another one now, okay? Another technology that I use a lot. And I'm going to quickly show you this before we actually start to look at it. So I'm just going to come back onto my website. See if I can just get this moved out of the way. It always annoys me. I always go into the wrong place, these things. But anyway, put it down there for now. So what I'm going to do is I will start by just showing you. Let me just close down the Padlets for now, because I'm going to do something different now. So just close those down. Okay, and I'm going to come over and talk about something called Google Forms. Google Forms is really, really powerful. You can make a questionnaire. The students can fill in the questionnaire, and all of the data comes immediately back to you in the form of a graph. So if you want to collect some information from the students, do a survey, do some questionnaires, and then maybe you've got then something to discuss with the students, you can make a questionnaire. You can share the link with the students. They can click, answer the questions. You just sit back. All the information is coming in. You don't have to worry. You stop the activity when you're ready. You open up onto the screen, and you can show the graphs. And then you can do an activity with the students when they maybe, for example, discuss the answers to the graph, or you might present it, or you might get some of the students to talk about it. Well, what we can understand here is blah, blah, blah. 20% of the students like playing football. 50% of the students like. So you can do these activities where you've given them a questionnaire, but all the data comes back and the graphs are made for you automatically. I'm going to just show you a couple of examples if I can. I've got all these windows and they're all, let me see if I can put that down in a minute. See, just for a minute while I do this. So I'm just going to show you a couple of examples of what I mean by these things. So I've got some surveys here, the sorts of things that I do with my students. And let me see if I've got one that I can show you. Let's have a quick look at, see, lots and lots of surveys. Let's have a quick look at this one here. So this was one that I actually did with some teachers. So I asked them some questions. So this is the questionnaire. I know the language is quite long. It could be very simple. I could be asking very simple things. You can see the question here, all different questions. Now, I've got 8 responses, 8 responses. If I click on the responses, then I can get like a summary of all of the answers, including the graphs that show me the answers that the students put. And I can look at the data. So really quickly, I can do activities. Now, these activities can include video, they can include pictures. I've kept it very simple, the one that I've made for you, but when I make one of these questionnaires, I can actually include pictures, I can include video, okay, I can add a video in, so I could get the students to watch a video, then answer some questions, or put a video and then write something, and all of that will be collected together, and then I can look at it. So what I've done is I've made one for you here, really simple. This one asks some really simple questions. First question, which would you prefer to do? Teach online or teach face-to-face? Very interested to see that. Now, Donna's got a lovely American accent. I've got a horrible English accent. So which one do you prefer? Russell's British accent or Donna's American accent? Donna's accent, I'm guessing, is from New York area, the east side of America. How useful do you think YouTube is for teaching? So you're going to put your answer there. And one last question. Which of these languages sounds the nicest? So which one sounds nicest to you? Is it English, Italian, French, German, Russian, Chinese, or other? Okay, so I put you, and then final question. Which of these technologies do you use in your teaching and learning? Now, I know these questions are for you, your teachers. I could have asked different questions for my students. What do you normally do at the weekend? Series of questions. Which is your favorite television program? Blah, blah. Give them a few options. Okay. What do you like to do in your free time? Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I could do a questionnaire asking them about studying English. How many English books have you read in the last month? Have you watched any English films recently? Have you tried to go onto the Richmond platform and study the grammar? I can make questionnaires super easy. And then all I need to do, once I've made the questionnaire, click on send. I come up to the link and I simply, and I can even copy a short version of the link. Hang on, is it? Oh no, maybe I'm gonna have to copy the long. I'll copy the long version of the link and I'm gonna send that to you. I want you to click on the link and answer the questions. And in 5 minutes, I will have all your answers. So this is a tool that I use a lot when I want to take pressure off myself from doing my teaching and learning and get the students to do an activity. Okay, you could get them to go off on the platform and do something as well. Okay, that's another possibility. I'm just showing you Google Forms because it's very clever, and if you start studying it, you'll realize you can do it for loads of things, all different types of surveys. So let me give you this link. Just click on the link and go onto that survey and answer the questions. Just give you a couple of minutes. You don't need to log in. You don't have to do anything. You just click on it and you will be able to answer the questions. There's no logging in, only for the teacher. The students just click on it and answer the questions. So I'll give you a couple of minutes. If you click on the link, you should be able to answer the questions.
Russell, do you have a tutorial on Google Forms?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Great.
Many.
Okay.
Many.
So they
I've
can
just shared the link,
us.
guys. I just shared it in the screen there. I'll just share it again. There it is. Okay.
No, we can't see it. We can't see it.
It's in the chat window. It's in the chat window. I put it in the chat window on the right-hand side. Just click on chat at the bottom, guys. Okay, this is the reason that this is happening. Let me see. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put the link onto the screen. 1 second. Let's see if I can do that. It's a bit more complicated.
Okay, for some reason, maybe you're in a private, Russell. See if you're in private chat.
Yeah, sorry, I am.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. Thank you very much. Right, everyone, sorry, yes. Apologies, guys, sorry. All right, now it'll come to you. Apologies. Yeah, I was in the wrong one. Thank you, Donna. What would I do without you? Thank God I've got a technology guru with me.
You're right.
Thank you.
Okay. So who is asking? All right, so there are videos for the Google Forms.
Yeah.
And also, let me see, screen share in the break rooms. Okay, no, I'll ask you that one later.
Yeah, I know that's going to come up. Everyone's asking about that.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I'm asking this because can you use Padlet for quizzes? That might confuse them if you answer that now.
No, you can't. You can't.
Okay.
No, you use Google Forms for quizzes. Google Forms is great for quizzes. Okay, you can make quizzes or surveys. Okay, and I'll give you some videos where you can find them.
Okay, so Monse, did you hear that? Go ahead, Russell.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the reason I'm showing you these technologies is they can be used for lots of things. Google Forms is used massively, okay, for any type of survey, gathering data from your students at the beginning of the course, to get feedback from them, to find out about the hobbies of the classroom, to find out about their study hobbies, to get some feedback at the end of the unit of a module of a course book. You can do it for that as well. There are lots of times when you might want to use Google Forms. It's one of those technologies that if you learn, you can use it for many things. I literally use it hundreds of times. I really have used it for so much. I'm doing a training course with teachers. I can give them a questionnaire. Are you happy? Is it going all right? Do you want me to change anything? If I'm going to be doing a training course with some teachers in Colombia, I can send them the questionnaire before I come. What do you want to learn? What problems do you have? Great for that sort of thing. Great for parents. You want to do a questionnaire, get some feedback from the parents, give them some guidance on using Zoom. Are you happy with your students using Zoom? Blah, blah, blah. You could, lots and lots of possibilities. These tools that I'm showing you, they're not tools that you're going to use once. They're tools that you can use for many, many different things. Okay, brilliant, guys. I can see most of you have done it. Sorry that I was sharing that to the wrong person. It keeps jumping for some reason. It keeps.
If they write to you directly, then your message, your chat automatically goes good to them.
Ah, right.
That's
okay,
what I found.
So, right. Okay. That's a bit strange, isn't it? I want to keep it
Yeah.
on everyone. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, let's have a look, guys, at what you've written. Okay. I'm hoping that you like my accent better than Donna's, but I suspect that you're going to probably prefer Donna's accent.
No,
Right.
they like the British one. Me too. Me too.
Let's have a see. I doubt it. I doubt it. Right, so I'm going to come over. I'm going to come back to that questionnaire, which I've got on the screen. And this is the wonderful thing. I can now see that there's 102 responses. I can already see that. And I can click here, and it gives me a summary. Would you prefer to teach face-to-face? 87.5% of you decided that you would prefer to teach face-to-face, and I totally agree with you. I know I do a lot of work in teaching online, but I would always prefer to do face-to-face. Whose accent is the winner? Donna, I've beaten you.
Wow. Yeah, they're sick of the American accent. Are you kidding?
Right.
Look what the Americans do to these people.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I like the American accent. There are particular ones. I have to say, you know, my accent when I'm in America, it's quite useful.
Yes.
People are very, especially women. I've actually literally had women coming up to me when I'm in America and saying to me, just talk to me. I'm like, okay, this is amazing. So,
yeah.
But anyway, so yes, Don, I'm surprised. I thought you would tell me that. Right, how useful do you find YouTube? Right, look, I can see what percentage of you and how useful you find that particular technology. Okay, really lovely, the data that I can receive. See how quickly I could do this and then use this for a reason for talking or getting the students to write a summary. I might say, right, summarize the information, okay? So there's lots of opportunities to work with this data and use it in the class afterwards. It might be the writing activity the students do for homework. It doesn't have to be something in the class. And it means that the focus is not always on you. The most popular accent, wow, is English. I thought you'd all say French. Okay, French is number 2, okay? You know what, I have to confess, I like I like Chinese. I don't know why. I spent a lot of time there. I love that accent, and I love trying to speak Chinese as well. I love it. So, and which of these technologies do you use? So I can see there the technologies that you use and which ones you're working with, Google Docs or Google Forms. So quite a lot of you are not using Google Forms, all right? So that's great, because I'm going to give you the chance to learn it. Quizlet's great. Really great technology. These technologies, Padlet, see? So great. I really hope I'm going to help you in the next over the next few weeks, especially if you make use of my website to learn to use some of these technologies. Start with Zoom, but some of these technologies can be really useful. Brilliant, lovely, and it worked. That worked really well. Great. So there's 2 exercises, all right? So you've just seen 2 examples. I'm going to show you one more thing. This is going back to the point, Donna, how am I doing for time? Am I running short?
No, you're okay, but well, we're in about 10 hours, but really quickly, someone asked you about Kahoot. Do you like Kahoot?
Yeah, I do. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, but you know, I've said to you many times that I don't use technologies in the class. That is probably one of the few exceptions, particularly at the beginning of a lesson or the end of a lesson. I do use Kahoot. Can I just tell you something? Not just 3 or 4 days ago, I saw a teacher use Kahoot on Zoom.
Wow.
And it worked brilliant. Okay, because the students had telephones, the teacher set the Kahoot up, showed it on the screen, and the students access with their the number, and they did it on their telephones. Okay, there was only one problem, and that was that some of the students were actually watching the Zoom on their Kahoot. But if they were doing the Zoom lesson on a PC, they could open up their telephones and do the Kahoot as well. Okay. Yeah. Google Forms can be used for testing, guys. All right. Right. One more last thing. Just going to quickly show you a little website. Okay. I have to confess, right? This isn't something that I've actually used in a Zoom lesson. I'm just going to throw out a couple of ideas to you. Again, that could be quite good fun. All right. And again, the potential of getting the students to move into breakout rooms and do something like this. For example, I did quickly show you this the other day. I'm just going to throw out some of. I'm going to go to. In fact, let me just do it from here. I'm just going to quickly go onto Google. Hopefully this is going to work. You definitely want to make sure when you do this that all the webcams are turned off, all right? But I don't know if you know how. Would have thought it would be difficult for young learners, but I think for older learners, this would be absolutely brilliant, okay? So let me just see if I can, sorry guys, just turn that down. Okay, so I'm just going to come, I'm coming on to here, I'm going to go on to Launched Earth. And let's see how quickly it works. Google Earth is a wonderful tool if you want to get students to do little presentations, okay? So we're going to come on to here. I'm going to click on the Earth first. So we start from the beginning, okay? What you can do with Google Earth is you can choose a place that you might want to talk about, okay? And then you could get the students to do the same. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to write in on the screen, I'm going to write Stamford Bridge, Fulham Road, Chelsea. That's where my football club is. So I'm going to come right in. It's going to fly right in. And there I am at my football stadium. Okay? And it's going to do a 3D version of it. It's going to move around and it's going to show you my football stadium. I'm just going to tell you.
We only see you. I'm not sure if you're sharing the screen right now.
Ah, sorry. Right. Okay. Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Well done.
No problem.
No, cheers. Let me just get this.
Although it's lovely to see you.
Right, okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you, sorry. Right, grand. Here we go. I'll have to start that again then. Okay, so I'm going to go back and just show you how I did that. I went on to Google Earth, all right? I went on to Google Earth. This is Google Earth. Simple technology to learn to use because all you need to do is, this is what you see when you start. You click on the search. I've written in the name of my football club or the football stadium. I'm going to click on it and then off we go and it flies right in and it takes me there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a few facts about Stamford Bridge, and what I would normally do afterwards is maybe on the PowerPoint slide I might then put up the numbers and say to the students, right, can you remember what these numbers represented? So the first time I ever went to Stamford Bridge was in 1972. I was 7 years old. I went to see Chelsea, my football team. That's who plays here. They played Leeds United. It's a football club in the north of England, and Chelsea won 4-0. That was my first ever football match. I was 7 years old. I am a regular at Chelsea. I sit just here. I'll just move it in a bit closer so you can see it. Okay? So my seat is just about there. Okay? All right? So if you ever, you get a great view of the stadium from there. Okay? Let me just, okay, if we click on the top there, you can see it from the top. Okay? And if I click from the side, you can see it from the side. It's funny, Chelsea, the football stadium, this is a hotel. The football club was started in 1905. And it's not actually in Chelsea. Chelsea's kind of over here, all right? This is Fulham. And this is actually the Fulham Road. So Chelsea's on the Fulham Road. This stadium is called the West Stand. This stadium is called the Shed. Or this stand is called the Shed. This one is called the Matthew Harding Stadium, and this one is called the East Stand. One problem at Chelsea, if we just move there, one problem at Chelsea, you've got the museum here on the right-hand side. One problem, if you notice, there's a train line. Always had problems to make the ground bigger because there's very little space to increase the size of the stadium, but it's a very beautiful stadium. While I'm here, I'll just pop off to one more place. Let's go off to see Big Ben. Okay,
they're loving this, Russell, by the way.
So I'm just going to zoom off, take you to see Big Ben, in case any of you haven't been here. Now, unfortunately, the day that they did the, let's coming closer to Big Ben. Okay, so this is the Houses of Parliament. This is Big Ben here. Now, actually, Big Ben is not the tower. It's actually the bell. This is called the Queen Elizabeth Tower. If we come on here, I'll just have a quick look from the top. Okay, this is Parliament Square. This is Westminster Bridge. And actually, when we do the distances from London, how far to Brighton to Manchester, it's based from this point. This is the kind of center point where they measure the distances from. I'm just going to come back into the 3D view. Just going to come around here. So you can see the River Thames if you've never been there. Okay. This is obviously, you know, this is the Houses of Parliament. So we can just go around the Houses of Parliament as well. Okay. And let me just come back into the 2D view. We'll just move around a bit more. I just want to show you one more thing. So you could do this. You could do an activity where you actually show the students some, I'm just going to stop it one. So we're going to come down now, and just to show you there, wrong side, it's gone around the wrong way, but there it is. Okay. If we just look here a minute, let me just move on. This here is King Richard I. King Richard I, you all know him because he's the king that's mentioned in the Robin Hood stories. Okay. Stop sharing. Okay, guys, that could be a great activity to do with your students. What you would do afterwards is you would maybe write some key numbers on the screen. So I might now go onto my interactive whiteboard, write in some key numbers. For some reason, my interactive whiteboard is not there. I don't know why, but so that's one of the settings. But I could write some numbers on the screen and say to the students, right, what does 1905 mean? What does 1972 mean? What does 4-0 mean? What does Fulham Road mean? And get the students to just explain to me the meanings of the words so that I could check that they're understanding. Now I could put them into breakout rooms, or I could teach them to use that technology, put them into breakout rooms, and they could do similar activity. Where this would be really nice would be linked into Donna's idea of a project. It could be something that they prepared at home. So they could go home, prepare somewhere in the world that they want to present to the rest of the class, come into class, put them into breakout rooms, and then they can present a different place. Okay, that is called Google Earth. It's fantastic.
I think everyone's really enjoying even traveling virtually at the moment.
Good, guys.
Yeah. Okay, I just need to turn some mics off. Oops. All right, so you tell me, we don't have any questions for you right now, Russell, so we could, let me just make sure all the mics are off.
Just mute them all, yeah?
Yeah, some people come up periodically. You might want to do
Shall I show you how to do it? Because I'll do it for you 1 minute, yeah?
No, okay, yeah. No, everyone's off right now. Perfect.
Yeah, I know. It says allow participants to unmute themselves. Just say, no, you can't do that. And then no one can do it now. Donna, you take over. Oh God, is Donna a participant? Donna, you mute all. You should be able to speak, Donna. You can unmute yourself. Sorry. Let me just unmute you. Sorry.
Okay, now you can hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so the question is now, can you see my shared screen?
We can, yeah.
Okay, great. So Russell, unless you need to go get some water, would you mind checking the chats and just let me know if there's anything I need to address?
Definitely. I will need to get a glass of water. You can probably hear. I'll be back 2 seconds and I'll be back.
That's okay. Jimena can do it. Thanks so much. All right, so everyone, while Russell is going to get water, we're going to go on. And what I'm going to do now is help you use all these advanced functions to do some projects. And this is not as difficult as it may seem. I'm just going to give you 4 simple steps to do it. And you're going to be so excited. Now is the time to move into projects because your students are at home and they have nothing else to do. So we have about a half an hour. I'm going to show you in a half an hour how you can move into projects. All you need to do is start with an inquiry question. And if you're using books like Compass, you already have them, although I'm going to show you how you can embellish them a little bit. You're going to do scaffolding, which we did a little bit yesterday. And then everyone asks me about assessments for projects. So I'm going to show you a really nice rubric that I'm happy to send you. And reflection. Reflection is so important. It's important for us as teachers, and it's important for our students. So they become more knowledgeable learners, more autonomous, and more responsible. And we know some of these kids, most of them, they're treated like babies. We need to treat them like adults. For teachers, I always tell teachers in my workshop, the most important tool we have is reflection. What works one day won't work another day. We simply have to figure out why. So, are you ready? This is a really wonderful graphic that I'm also happy to share with you, and you'll get this on when your representative sends you these webinars. It's a circle of reflection, and what's wonderful about these is it gives you questions to ask your students before you begin a project or a task, during and after. So we're going to go over this later, and you'll see how incredibly valuable it really is. What we're going to do now is go back to the lower and higher order thinking questions. And I showed you how valuable they are yesterday. I'm going to show you even more how much we can use these with the platforms. As you saw yesterday, the most powerful questions are the how, why, and what if. So I'm going to give you an example of how powerful this is. Let's take the subject of cyberbullying. All right, with cyberbullying, now, the reason why I'm showing you this again, in case you weren't here yesterday, 80% of the time on average, which means that a lot of times, more than 80% of the time, we use only lower order thinking questions. So now we have this incredible opportunity to push thinking higher, let our students have a little more freedom, and help them be critical thinkers. Why is this important? Because of technology. Our students are looking at technology as their competition. Technology will always be better at lower order thinking questions than they are. So what we need to do is push them into critical thinking so that they are more qualified than machines. This is not just to do something new in the classroom. It's to help them become more viable in the world. So let me just show you, in a cyberbullying case, a lower order thinking question. Have you ever been a victim of cyberbullying? Well, all you need to do is answer yes or no, and then the exercise is over. Let's go to, for instance, who? Who are usually victims of cyberbullies? Well, you find out the profile of a cyberbully, and that's the end of the task. It's important to know, but it doesn't go anywhere. So let's go to what? Now we're into the higher order thinking questions. What is a cyberbully? Right? Again, you need to do a little bit of research, but once the research is over, that's the end of it. So now I'm going to show you why the other three words are so powerful. Put your seatbelts on. This is really going to be fun. All right, how? How can cyberbullies be made to be responsible for their actions? Now it's getting a little more interesting, right? All right, and we're going to go, oh, sorry, let me see. Am I still sharing? Let me make sure.
Let me just check.
Do you see my screen, Russell?
Yes.
Okay.
No, you're not. I'm not. I'm seeing just you talking on the screen.
Oh, okay, that's not good because it's not looking so good today. All right, let's see. Compartir.
No, I can. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Now we're going back. Yeah.
Okay, hopefully people were seeing this before.
I don't know because I've just come back in the room, so I'm not sure.
Interesting. No, I didn't have the presentation on. So I'm just going to go back a couple of slides just to make sure. Have you ever been a victim of cyberbullying? And then we have who are usually victims of cyberbullies. We have what is a cyberbully? And then how can cyberbullies be made responsible for their actions? And now we're going to go to what if. What if victims of cyberbullies were given the opportunity to confront their abusers? All right, now this is a whole project. This is something that you can help your students begin. You work on it while they're working in their groups, and then there's always a presentation at the end. Now there's an asterisk after why. Why is that? And I'm going to show you. We have to be careful using the word why because we can make it a little too easy. Why did the cyberbully turn on the computer? Well, probably to bully someone, so that doesn't go anywhere. So what we want to do is be a little more careful. Now, this question is not an effective question, and I'm going to ask you why. Why are social networks harmful? It's not an effective inquiry question. Does anyone see the problem there? You may see the word harmful is a leading adjective. So what we want to do is be really careful when we use words like this. And for instance, you could say, why do some consider social networks to be controversial? In any case, I just wanted to show you why that when we choose specific words, it can either lead to lower order thinking or higher order thinking questions that we can use in projects. So let's just go over what an inquiry question is, because that's why I was saying, with your work, all you need to do is 4 steps to turn a lesson into a project. And one thing we were talking about today and yesterday, the breakout rooms are wonderful for this. They're perfect for this, because what you can do is leave students in the breakout rooms, go to another class you have scheduled, let the students continue working, and then if you want, go back in an hour or so later. But there are a lot of times in my university classes when my students, I put them in the breakout rooms, and they want to keep working even though the class is over. I let them. And maybe an hour or 2 later, I can go back in and see what they're doing. So if we start with an inquiry question, it's just to get the students excited. We want to get them curious. It needs to have many possible answers. It should be curious, thought-provoking. We want them to explore deeper meaning, to stimulate creativity, and, very important, connected to the real world. What Russell was just showing you with Google Earth, it has to do with the world we're living in. And it's a different perspective than what we usually see it in. So if we bring the world into the classroom, it makes things a lot more meaningful for our students. So what I'm going to show you is just how it's very easy to bring these inquiry questions into the classroom. Now, if some of you are using Compass, this will look very familiar. And if you're not, it doesn't matter, because you can still use the idea of these questions. So for instance, Compass has what am I good at? And I would change this to what am I good at, and how can I help that, and how can that help the world? Or, for instance, one unit starts with who am I? And if I want to pull the world into this, I can say, who am I? And how is that different from children in other countries? All right, this will start a lot more conversations, a lot more engagement. What did ancient cultures believe? And so I'm pulling together different elements here. How can I know about the beliefs of ancient cultures? How can they help me to understand the countries around me?
Right, so people are asking the question, what do we do about low-level students? There's quite a few people saying, yeah, those are nice ideas, but they wouldn't work with, say, A1 or low-level students. How do we deal with that?
Okay.
Kind of get them to it's kind of difficult, isn't it? Is there a solution?
Yeah, the solution is scaffolding and more scaffolding, because when you're working with A1 students, obviously all these questions are going to be simpler, but there's a really important point here. If our expectations are low, our students are going to know that. So if we go into a class with a lot of A1 and A2 students and don't help push their level up in interesting ways, the message they receive is, well, I'm not worth really this teacher's time. So if we can adapt what I'm doing here to a lower level, the students are going to be engaged enough to start learning more on their own, and that's what we want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I guess linguistically they do need some skills, don't they? You've almost got to kind of bring that to them, haven't you? The ability to give them the linguistic bricks to be able to do that. Yeah.
Those linguistic bricks are scaffolding. And so when I say scaffolding and more scaffolding, I really mean it. There are a lot of times, and then teachers say it's taking all these activities are taking up too much class time. But if they don't have those blocks, those scaffolds, they can't do the rest of the work. Right, so most of the time in my classes, most of the work is scaffolding, and then I can ask them to do the main body of the work at home.
Right, okay, good.
Okay? All right, so let's just keep going through these, and then what's the purpose of art in my country and in other countries? We're going to use that question in just a minute. Let me just go through these. I'm not going to stop here because I think the question is, what do we do with these inquiry questions? So for instance, the first step is an inquiry question, and we're going to take this, what is the purpose of art in my country and in other countries? Let's just say it's a very low level. Well, obviously this question is, I'm not going to go into low levels because it's a whole other subject and we wouldn't use this question. It would be a much simpler question. And then I also believe in translanguaging. I think it's really important to honor the student's native language as well. And if that's going to help them engage more in their classroom activities, then absolutely we need to blend in English and their native language. So that's why I always use scaffolding, and any type of scaffolding you can think of. In this case, what you could do is put the students in breakout rooms, give them a timeline with the art from whatever comes up in the unit. I just picked artwork that I found online. In each breakout room, they would be looking at this information. And what I'd ask them to do is negotiate meaning, negotiate information, and come to a consensus of 3 to 5 connections between what you see on these timelines. There is no correct answer here. I'm giving them some of the academic language, and I would put more on the breakout room slides so that they have more language to speak with. Now then teachers say to me, but they're not going to speak in English. You have to give them a little leeway. If they're speaking Spanish between themselves, but they produce the work in English, I find that satisfactory. If they need to do that, if you let them do it, they will be more willing the next time to speak more English. If we say to them, you are not allowed to speak any Spanish, they're going to get tense and resentful and stop trying. So I don't have any problem with the breakout rooms if the students are conversing in one language or the other. Right. So again, we're going to start with the inquiry question. We put them in the breakout rooms and we use scaffolding. And then we go to the main body of the lesson. You may decide either the main body of the lesson are simply the exercises in the book, or you may go into a rubric. Now the rubric is for a project. So teachers always ask me, how do I assess the project? Assessing and giving the criteria for the project is the same thing. Here is what I would give my students. It's really important to upload the rubric onto the platform so the students know exactly what's expected of them. So this would go into maybe the calendar of the platform, or you can send it in a post, or you can send it wherever you want, as long as the students always have this. Because I'm not a teacher to trick my students. I'm a teacher to give them the responsibility for learning. How do I do that? We co-negotiate, we have a co-agreement about what criteria is going to be on the final assessment. So here's a self-assessment, and all they need to do is read the inquiry question. The final task I'll show you in a minute is going to be a digital collage that they're going to do with their group mates. And here are the things they need to do. And I'm giving them I can statements. If any of you are doing Cambridge exams or other standardized exams, there's a mediation skill now. In the mediation skill, in the companion volume of the Sefer, there are a lot of I can statements, which I really like. So I use them also in the rubric. The student at the end of this project will be able to identify key artists, compare different styles of art, construct a progression of art styles from 2000 BCE to the present. There's an exact list of what they have to do. There's no question, and all they have to do is write yes or no. I've done it or I haven't done it. Because at the end, if you see on the bottom of this self-assessment rubric, it says, next time I can improve by, it's very important they take responsibility for admitting what they did well or what they could improve next time. Next time I can be a more effective group member by, and I'm going to show you how they really do fill these out honestly. You may not believe it, but they do. So what I wanted to get at is the last one. The grade I deserve for this course, I should have said project. The grade I deserve for this course is, and they have to justify it. So teachers say to me, but I'm not going to give them the grade that they say they deserve. And I say, of course you're not. If they say they deserve a 10 or an A, and they show you the rubric and say, I've done everything in this rubric, and you say you absolutely did, you deserve a 10 or an A. That's fine. If they come up to you and you say, I deserve a 10 or I deserve an A+, and you show them the rubric that they handed you and you said, but you're missing 5 of the criteria, they can't deny it. Didn't do all the work. So whenever there's a self-assessment, there's also the teacher's assessment. But the studies show that this self-assessment and giving them the opportunity to show what they think their grade is raises the learning enormously. It helps the students get engaged enormously in their own learning. So here we have the self-assessment for the project. And what I'm going to show you next, this is really important because what I used is Bloom's taxonomy of measurable, and excuse me, I have a typo there. See if you can find that. Measurable verbs. Whenever we're doing a rubric and whenever we're doing assessment, it's really important that we use measurable verbs. If we can't measure the criteria, then there's no way we can assess it. So a lot of times teachers will start with, students can understand key artists, or students can understand different styles. How do you know if they understand that? You can't measure understanding unless it's visible. So here I've given you a link to an excellent website where it has a more extensive list of Bloom's taxonomy of measurable verbs that I highly recommend you use in your own rubrics, right? Or objectives, whenever you're doing objectives, even if it isn't a project. I also think it's really important to do group assessments. There was someone yesterday who was asking whether he could do all these platforms and all the techniques that Russell was showing on the Zoom platform in Edmodo in Spanish. Whatever material you're using, whatever language you're using, you can use it for the online platforms. This happens to be Valenciano. And so it just shows for some very young learners are doing group assessments. All they have to do is check the faces. And so we can adapt these assessments to whatever level it is. I'll show you another example. This is the rubric for ourselves. This is the rubric for the teacher. This is what our project is going to be in. Now, depending on the level, if it's maybe the students are 13, 14, 15 and up, I would give them the same rubric. But the younger ones, I would give them the one I showed you before. So it's a little more understandable for them. And for the very young learners, I have worked with even preschool teachers. They can do assessments if we give them images. All right, so I'm going to just show you this rubric quickly. You'll see this, you'll get this on the webinar later, on a copy of it. It's very important that we make sure we put content objectives and language objectives. Why? Because usually we will always put the content objectives in our rubrics for the projects, and we forget to put language objectives in. If we put them in, then we remember to use that vocabulary, and we will recognize when they learn it. And then when they use it, we will also make it more visible so that it's more accessible to them. So content and language objectives, can't stress it enough. And you can see I put the same criteria as was on the self-assessment rubric, and then the language objectives. And I say here, social team building phrases in the bottom. It's really important that we help students also use the phrases that will help them work better together. I think I heard you say, could you repeat that please, instead of just what? Which is what they'll usually say because it's so easy to say it in Spanish, right? All right, so hopefully you understand this. And then the bottom part also, the final task is we put exactly what we expect from them. A digital collage with the following criteria. We construct a collage with 4 to 6 genres. If I don't put 4 to 6, they're going to put 1, and they have absolutely every right to do 1 because I wasn't more specific. Compose a written explanation, 200 to 250 words. In the formative assessments during the project, perhaps all you want is to see if they're doing the student book work. And if you're using the Edmodo page or if you're using the Richmond platform, the system will do it automatically, so you don't have to do much. You can ask each group to give you a progress report every day through posts, and then you have the summative assessments on the bottom. So this is all you need to do. If you can do this rubric in the beginning, you have the project and you also have the assessment, and all you need to do is check yes, 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 or no, and you've finished your work. You can upload this very easily to whatever platform you're using, and your students can see it as you're checking it off. So is there any questions on that so far? Russell, is there anything I need to know? Let me just go back to the chat. Let me see. Show Bloom's taxonomy again. Sure, let me go back to that. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't. I was talking to you and I didn't have my sound on. Sorry.
That's okay.
Bloom's
That's okay.
taxonomy. They've asked a few people asking about Bloom's taxonomy. Yeah.
Okay, let me go back to Bloom's taxonomy. But as I said, you'll get this, and I'm happy to send this also. This is Bloom's taxonomy and the link. And if you just type in Bloom's taxonomy of measurable verbs, and if you would please spell that correctly, then you'll get this page. It's a wonderful source. I keep it with me and use it frequently. Okay.
I agree with you. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's helped me massively in my own teaching and learning.
Really? Oh, yeah, I'm really glad to hear that.
It really helps you to understand when you're, taking people, when you're pushing people, when you're pushing them on in terms of their thinking, in terms of activities you're doing. Yeah.
Okay, I'm really glad to hear that. All right. So we have about 5 more minutes because I want to leave 5 minutes at the end for us to answer any questions you may have. And reflection. Reflection, as I was saying, is so important. With reflection, we become more conscious of the fact we're learning. This is for teachers and for students. We need them to understand how they learn best. And I've seen students who all of a sudden realize, oh, I learn best when I can touch something. I need scaffolds where I can touch. I learn best when I'm listening to something, or I learn best when I can speak to someone about it. If they're more conscious about it, then they're more powerful learners. So we want to learn how they learn best, and we want, listen, in the end, not just responsible students. We want them to be more responsible human beings and citizens of the world, right? I think that's the object in the end. So how can we do this? We can ask very simple questions at the end of a project, but also in the beginning and during. What have we done? How well did we work together? What have we learned? How can we use what we learned? How do we think and feel now? The affective domain is really important. We haven't talked about that at all yet. How could we have approached this differently? And how can we explain this to others? So these are questions that are so important because it also makes us realize that whatever work we're giving them needs to spread out beyond the digital classroom. And so for that, I would love to pass on to you this circle of reflection. It is not mine. I found this on the internet. It is not easy to find. And let me see if it's, even if I know the author, it's hard to find this graph. So I'm happy to pass it on to you. I was in a classroom one time where the teacher explained, she was with 7-year-olds, and she spent 5 minutes in English explaining to these young Spanish speakers what they were to do. And she said, okay, now everybody get to work. And they all looked at her, and she said, get to work, please. And I said, could we just do one thing? Could we just ask them to turn to their partner and say, what are we about to do? And she said, I just told them what they have to do. They just listened to me. And I said, could we just do it? And she said, can you turn to your partner and say, this is what we're going to do? And nobody could do it. So if you give your students the opportunity to explain what you've just explained to them, you may realize 2 things. Either they know or they don't know. So it's really important, these questions before you begin a task or a project, during the project or task, and afterwards. Very powerful questions that you can adapt to your needs. All right? So again, you're going to get this in the webinar. And these are just some examples of comments that students gave to their teacher after some scaffolding activities and after some projects. The scaffolding activities specifically, and I translated these, which you don't need translated, but you can just see, because it's hard to see the original. It was difficult to understand the concept, but interacting with problems more actively helped me a lot. These are the breakout room type activities. Working with my classmates helped me resolve questions. So remember we were talking about let go of control? Put them in the breakout rooms. Have faith that they can do the work, and if they have questions, either they'll work it out, or when you go into the room, you can help them move forward. But we need to stop giving them the answers, and we need to stop making it easier for them. We just need to give them the tools to help them learn themselves. All right, so this teacher asked them very simple question. These are 12-year-olds, and these are some of the answers to her questions. This is what we were learning. We've learned chulísimo. It was chulísimo. This one, we had no problems. I loved it. And this one said, yes, there were problems between my groups, but you can see what she said. We learned by talking it out, right? I'm just showing you the different ages. At every age, we can give them reflection. For 6-year-olds, this teacher incorporated reflection in the quiz itself, and you see that she just let them circle the happy face to see what grade they deserve. But you'll also see in the middle, even though it's Valenciano, you'll understand enough where she said, she reviewed what they were learning. She said, I have learned about different words. I have learned about the seasons of the year. I have learned about transport. I have learned about work equipment. And they said, yes, 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 yes. It was reminding them of what they'd learned, right? And so there are different ways to help them think about their learning. And in these, this is the last slide, it's just to show you that the teacher also says, this is the students say, this is the grade I deserve, and the teacher has a place to say, yes, I agree with you, absolutely. Or, you know what, I think maybe we need to reconsider the grade you think you deserve. So as the end of these webinars, I think Russell will appreciate this as well. We want you to just write down the 3 most important points that we've shared with you today and yesterday and Monday that will help you design your online classes. Would you mind sharing that with everyone in the chat? What do you think, Russell? Do you think we need to change
lovely
that?
questions. Well, no, well, they just got to write three things. Yeah, I think that's a lovely exercise to do.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Someone's just I'm just watching the chat. A lot of people are asking for the presentation, but you're gonna be doing that, aren't you? Because I think you've got some lovely slides in there with the Bloom's taxonomy, the one there about reflection. I'm reflection mad, so I totally know where you're coming from.
Okay, yeah.
I even keep a diary, so a reflective diary.
Goodness.
So yes. Lovely. So yeah, just lovely question. What were the 3 most important points that you just shared that will help you to design your online classes?
This has to do with both of ours. You know, my presentation, your presentation, and any day.
Yeah.
And we keep trying to repeat, and Jimena will repeat this also, that their representatives will pass on these 3 webinars to them.
Yeah, we'll pass on the webinars. Guys, I've also done a little thing for you. I've made a handout today. I know many of you are interested in the technologies that I showed you, which were Google Earth, Google Forms, and Padlet. I also mentioned Answer Garden, actually, but I didn't show it to you. But if you go to, so I'm just going to give you a little handout here. I've just made it for you. Let me just see if I can grab it. It's a little file, just very simple one. Got it on my computer. And if I go to the desktop, and it's just got the videos. If you want to learn to use Google Earth, or you want to learn to use Padlet, or you want to learn to use Google Forms, which is absolutely brilliant.